Okay, so we are Living Soil Garden. It's the 25th of October, and I thought we'll take you for a tour around to see what's in our beds, what's growing at the moment. And it's such a sunny day, it's a great opportunity to do that. So I'm going to flip the camera and we'll go through it. So we start from here, which is my favourite bit of the garden at the moment, because it looks really pretty with this interplanting of lettuce and fennel, and you can see that aesthetically it looks really good, but also it's quite convenient because we can pick the lettuce on the outer rows and without having to bend too much towards the center when we do it from a kneeling position. And this is something we'll definitely do again, because the fennel seems to grow even though it's growing slowly at this time of the year. We'll have to monitor whether it really slows down because of the lettuce, but it doesn't seem to be doing particularly bad. And then we have another combination here with kohlrabi and lettuce, and that bed there is kohlrabi and spring onions with lettuce on the sides. These are all no-dig beds that we top up before transplanting in the autumn, and there's wood chip in the pathways. So next one along is radishes and rockets. We always plant radishes and rocket under netting in the summer. This time, actually now we could remove the netting, but that's fine. And there's also a row of baby turnips, Tokyo turnips, which are really tasty and really nice. And this is going to be our penultimate succession of those. There's another one growing at the bottom of the garden. Then we've got some nice purple top turnips, doing well, selling quite well. This bed gets a bit waterlogged, so it's suffering a little bit. And let's go on this side. At the very top of the garden we've got some pure polyculture beds, as we call them, because they're really full of different things. And these are beds that we use more for demonstration, but obviously we harvest from them as well. There's Perpetual Spinach, there is Miss Puna, Herbastella, turnips, chard, dill, lots of different things, kale and radishes, and they look fantastic. They do very well together. Also they make for a nice demonstration bed to show the potential of no-dig and interplanting in a small space. There's a nice pink cauliflower as well in there, some chicories and some different varieties of kale. Here there's a new kale that we're trialing called Jagallanera. It's an interesting one as well. And let's go down this way. We've got some celery that has gone to flower on this side, and there's still some plants that we keep harvesting the outer leaves off. This was cauliflowers, and there's now mulli radishes in the centre, and this is another interplanting with lettuce and spinach on the sides and chard and kale in the middle, alternated rows of chard and kale. This is something that works incredibly well for our chard and kale. We'll definitely try it again. And also bear in mind, both chard and kale don't make mycorrhizal associations, whereas lettuce does, so it's a very good thing to combine them together. And we've got, let's go down, mulli radishes here. Let's see their state. Oh, they're still quite small, hopefully you can see. This is another interplanting of chicories, endives or endives, and cauliflowers and kale and leeks, really rich mixed bed. Then we've got spring onions and mustard and radishes in this one. These are autumn lettuces, which are doing quite well. They won't crop for very long because when the first frost kicks in, things will just start to die and rot. And Petra Spinach is some that we've had a lot of problems with. We get bad root rot, which manifests initially with a bit of yellowing of the leaves like that, and then the plants literally die straight, like very quickly die, and it's really annoying. Here you can see it's kicking in and it looks just normal decay, and then the leaves go all yellowy like in that plant, and then the plant just wilts. This is Perpetual Spinach that we've picked more than 5 times I think now, doing really well, and we cut with a knife and it grows back. We find that this is the best way because it gives a clean stand, second or third or fourth cut. If we pick outer leaves, that's what happens. There's Cospora and other diseases that spread by touching continuously the leaves and always leaving quite a lot of large leaves in. And so we find that cutting with a knife gives a regrowth which is a lot cleaner. I mean, you can literally see it here. These have been cut several times. Look at the regrowth. And we're doing a bit of chard, baby chard, and pak choice. Then we've got mustard and other Asian greens here next to the plastic. These were beetroots, and we've tarped it because it was really weedy. And here the lettuces from the summer, they're still producing. There's a very good variety in there called canasta that we like from Italy, and it's really performing into the autumn incredibly well. Spring onions for the spring. Here we've got spring greens interplanted with coriander, quite a beautiful one. And then we've got a bed of spring onions for the spring again. This is a bed of radishes that we've let go to flower and seed for the benefit of the parasitic wasps that live in the garden and all other insects. It's really buzzing with life usually. We've got some leftover Chinese cabbage here. It's not the prettiest to look at, but when you clean it, it's really a beautiful plant, a beautiful crop. It doesn't sell very well in this part of the country, unfortunately. And these are our great bulb fennels, and really big bulbs this time of the year. There's a full bed of just fennel. This is an interplanting of spring greens, again for the spring, a typical British crop, with muhly radishes down the middle, so 2 brassicas. This is a very good winter crop. It's chervil. It grows incredibly well in the winter, very hardy. And then there's claytonia next to it, and other herbs like dill, which does really well up to the first frost, grows well, doesn't bolt. And then we've got land cress, which is spicy brassica that we use in salads. These beds that look empty have all been seeded with green manures, mostly rye and vetch. One of the big goals of this autumn is to leave all the beds covered. So right until December there won't be a bed that doesn't have any roots growing in it, apart from 2 or 3 beds that have tarp over them. And then we'll have a few empty beds just between January and March, but we'll mulch them heavily. This is mizunas and pak choice. This is another standard green manure. So this is a mixture really. There's 4 or 5 species in there: mustard, buckwheat, field beans. That we'll use the tips for salads. And then we've got other field beans with rye and vetch. And here we've got radishes and spinach. These are our leek beds. Leeks have done really well. This variety here that we've harvested a lot of is called Bulgarian. Very fast growing, really big, really long stems, and really nice and tasty, tender texture as well. Beetroots are starting to get a bit of damage because of the extreme rainfall, so the leaves are dying off, but the roots will be fine. This has been planted at rye and vetch. This is the last succession of Asian greens. We've got some choisum. Hopefully you can see that through the net. Beautiful flowering shoots and stems, tender, juicy, beautiful. And here we've got more green manures that haven't germinated as well as they could have. Let's move on. These are beds that will be garlic and broad beans for overwintering. And so now we're letting them flower for wildlife, and then we'll just mow them down, remove any stubble, and leaving the roots in obviously, and then transplant broad beans and garlic in. So this process has already been done for these 2 beds. This is endives, parsley in a bed that was initially carrots down the middle. The carrots have now died. This is a very good example of relay cropping. We had cauliflowers on the sides, then we had carrots in the middle. Still some carrots in there, hopefully you can see. Then we removed the cauliflowers and put in the endive and parsley, and then we finished harvesting the carrots, and now this is taken over by the lateral rows. This is a mixture of green manures down the middle as a nurse crop, if you want to call it like that, and then we have some crops on the sides, some radishes and some spinach. This is sown in green manures. I'm going quite close bed to bed. I think it might be beneficial for some people to see what's growing in this time of the year. This is broccoli that have been here since forever, really, since June at least, and they are for spring cropping. These are winter cropping broccoli. Some of them have bolted, actually, they've gone too fast, but there are some that are producing okay. And here in between the broccoli there's a bed of mixed field beans down the middle and brown lettuces. And Roger sniffing around for mice. Similar thing here with field beans and lettuces. So this is another interplanting that's coming to an end. There were leeks down the centre with beans cropping all the time on the sides. Now the beans have come out in some beds like this one, and we've planted some green manures on the sides, and we keep harvesting the leeks until the end of the spring. Here there's rye and vetch coming through. You hopefully can see germination of the vetch. And these were beans that we've all harvested now on your right, and they will come out soon, including the posts and the netting. And here we've got some more Asian greens that replaced sweet corn, some more green manures, some chard, and the cabbages that have been also in here for a long time. Got a bit of damage, some of them are doing quite well. Some beautiful red cabbages there. Look at this guy. And then we've got some savoys that are heading up, forming nice heads. This is again Petra Spinach, and you wouldn't say it now, but it was terrible, in a terrible state when we cut it, and now it's already grown back really clean. Well, to get a feel for how it was a few weeks ago, it was like this, really struggling, full of disease. We cut it, threw away the bad stuff and harvested, kept the good stuff. And what happened essentially is that it's come back nice and clean. Some of the leaves have been, have got that cut bit, but that's fine. We can always remove those leaves and eat them ourselves. Lots of kale, cavallonero. Our beds, some of these beds on this side are quite shallow, and topsoil is shallow. There's a lot of clay underneath, so our brassicas are struggling. They would benefit from extra fertility, extra nitrogen, because they struggle with not having enough oxygen in the root zone. These are flowers that we pick for salads, but also for have here for wildlife. And I'm just going to finish with the tunnel. This is a good thing that I recommend. Having parsley in your flower beds, it looks really pretty and it gives you a crop you might have run out in your vegetable beds. So this is how the tunnel looks this time of the year. Quite different from how it was during the summer. The tomatoes have come out. The peppers are the last crop that has come out on that side there, and we'll put some kale in there for leaves throughout the winter and early spring. And lettuces have grown so fast. There were tomatoes here 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago as well. So they were transplanted in, and this is true spinach, and here we got mixed herbs, rocket, chervil, dill, claytonia again, and here we got on the other side lettuce and spinach. This is all on drip irrigation, and this is our insurance policy for the spring. We'll grow and sell a lot of lettuce, salads in general from these beds here. There's another experimental bed here which we've planted with carrots down the middle and lettuces down the side, so we'll see how the carrots do in this interplanting. And we've got down below the bench there some lettuces for autumn, some more seedlings that are going in soon. Squash drying. It's not the most tidy time in the year in the tunnel, but there's a lot going on. And I guess this is it. We've got some parsnips on this side and the perennials. I might show you actually along this side what's going on, because we've got some beautiful perennials that Flavia's put in and looked after, and they've really done well. So this is another interplanting that we planted for a course, during a course actually. So our students will be pleased to see how well it's coming along. I'm moving quite fast, but you hopefully can see that there's mustard, beautiful chard, and radishes on the side. What radish is this? These are black radishes growing in there. Anyway, so this is Daubenton and Tontondale kale. This is oca. That is Jerusalem artichokes that might be ready to harvest soon because they've died down. A beautiful globe artichoke. Look at these guys, they've produced like crazy, and they should perennialize, so we look forward to having more. And these guys have been planted a bit later, so they should produce more like next year. I don't know if they produce in spring even. We'll have to see. Don't know much about artichokes. And rhubarb and these strawberries, I think we'll give them up and we'll sell the plants and stop growing strawberries. We never really harvest strawberries, there's too much rodent pressure. We just sell the plants, and they're a good source of income in the spring, but to be honest, it's a pain to remove all the runners now and dig them up. It damages the soil quite a bit, so we might give them up. And I'll say bye with this beautiful area of the garden where Roger is nipping and the nasturtiums are growing. Let me flip the camera one last time. So thanks for coming on this tour with me, and hope we'll do another one in a month or so to show you how things are in the winter before we put the sales to rest at least for a couple of months in January and February, and we'll be starting back selling produce in March, but the garden still very much grows, and hopefully all the beds will be filled with roots and photosynthesizing leaves. So I'll see you in the next one.